thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a slow flow with a focus on the throat chakra. So if you are located in the US, you have recently had a change in administration, presidential administration, and for a lot of people that brings up feelings. Good, bad, doesn't matter, it just probably brings up feelings. And with the change in administration, I think it's really important to feel like you have a voice, to feel like you have the opportunity to take up space and still be part of our country, our society. And the throat chakra is all about communication, so we're going to focus on that so that you can feel like you have the ability to communicate, you have the ability to feel heard, and hopefully just settle into this new administration. All right, so we will start seated on our mats. Find a comfortable seated position. And we're going to start by focusing in on the breath. Close the eyes. And just start to notice the breath. We're not yet trying to control or change the breath. Just notice the inhales and the exhales. Start to notice how the breath feels as it fills up the body and then as it leaves. So maybe notice first the inhales and how they feel in your nostrils, and then how they feel going down the back of the throat. How they feel when you fill up the lungs. Breathing slightly deeper, noticing the breath as it travels through the body and the diaphragm expands. And then one more big inhale, this time noticing the breath as it flows all the way from your nose, through your heart, your lungs, your diaphragm, and the belly expands. And then go ahead and start to add a slight constriction in the back of the throat to practice ujjayi breathing. If you've never practiced this before, you can try the first few rounds by inhaling through your nose, exhaling out your mouth as if you were fogging up a mirror or a window. Once you feel comfortable with that slight constriction in the back of the throat, go ahead and close the mouth. So you're still feeling the heat in your mouth. You're still feeling as though you're making that H sound, but the air is leaving your nose. On your next breath, go ahead and start to add some neck rolls, starting with the chin dropping to your chest, and then rolling over one ear to shoulder, rolling back through center, chin towards chest, and then opposite ear towards opposite shoulder. Going nice and slow, a few breaths like that. Just half circles, side to side. And then come back to center, chin towards chest, And then instead of thinking about lifting the chin, think about lengthening through the crown of the head so that you have lots of openness in the front of your throat. Exhale, chin towards chest. Inhale, grow tall. So the chin might lift at a 45-degree angle, but it's not necessarily lifting up because we don't want to compress the back of the neck. One more time like that, chin to chest. Chin to a 45-degree angle, and then head comes back to neutral. You can keep the eyes open or closed, your choice. We're going to take a few full body circles, rounding towards the back of your mat, and then pulling the heart through, maybe a slight lift in the chest as you come to the front of the mat. Exhale back. Inhale front. One more time this direction, and then we'll switch directions. Think about getting the extension, other direction, all the way through the spine. So rounding from tailbone through crown of head, and then as you come to the front, arching from tailbone to crown of head. Full body circle. One more time. Come back to center on the inhale, and then find a neutral spine on the exhale. And then we're going to transition our breathing a little bit. So normally if you were to do cat-cows, whether you're seated or on all fours, you would inhale, open the heart forward, exhale, round back. But we're going to add lion's breath. So we're going to actually inhale, round back. Feel as though you're expanding into the back of the lungs. And then as you exhale, stick out your tongue to the front. Inhale back. Feeling up the back body with air. Exhale. You can do this quietly, or you can really practice making your voice heard, making that breath nice and loud. One more time. Forward exhale. Come back to neutral. If your eyes are closed, feel free to open them. We're going to roll over onto all fours, grabbing something extra to cushion your knees if that feels good. Find a nice neutral spine, reaching through the crown of the head, squeezing the belly button up so that we're supporting our lower back. On an inhale, pick up one hand, keeping the shoulder and the wrist parallel to the ground, and then pick up the opposite foot, balancing, squeezing the cord so that neither the shoulder nor the hip roll up, they're parallel to the ground. And then let's add some crunches. Exhale, knee to nose, or knee to elbow rather. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, extend. Now this time, exhale, and when you inhale, we're going to add a slight back bend. So the fingertips will reach up a little bit, toes reach up. Exhale. Inhale, make that back bend a little bit bigger. And then if you can, reach behind and grab a hold of the back foot, gently pushing the back foot into the hand to open up the front of your body. Gently release, come back to that balancing table, and then drop just the hand to the ground. And on an exhale, you're going to sweep that foot to the side, parallel with the ground as best as you can. Back out behind you. Exhale, sweep it to the side. Really squeeze with your glutes to lift the leg. Inhale back. Exhale, squeeze. And then we're going to drop the foot to the ground so that your ankle is approximately the same distance as your knee, or the same level as your knee. Go ahead and walk your hands up. Inhale. Exhale, one hand goes down, the extended leg reaching up and over, making sure that your shoulder stays rolled open towards the sky. One more breath, and then come back to a T. If you need it, you can grab a block. We're going to take that T over to the side. You can stay here for a modified side plank, or you can pick up that foot. And if you have the space, you can lift the arm up and over. Release the foot to the ground, rise back up to your T, and then you're going to gently sit back. So maybe this is easy for you, you can just sit to the ground, or maybe you need to support yourself on the way down. Inhale, exhale, gentle foot fold over the front leg. Just a gentle fold. It's our very first stretch in the back of the legs, so no pushing. They may not be warmed up enough yet, so just relax, use your breath. And then walk yourself back up to upright, take your block and bring it slightly behind you, about where your hip is. We're gonna push up into a bit of a modified, very modified camel. We're still starting out, so just a slight back bend, pushing the hips forward, using the gait variation in the feet. And then you're going to walk your hands forward, coming into puppy dog pose with that leg extended. One more breath, opening up the heart, maybe lifting the chin and starting to open the throat. And then walk your hands back in, wrists underneath the shoulders, and bring your knee back underneath your hips. Opposite side, find that nice flat body first, squeezing with the belly button, making sure that we're not overarching into the lower back. And then pick up the opposite hand, shoulder and wrists parallel to the ground. Pick up opposite foot, hip and ankle parallel to the ground, reaching through the fingertips, reaching through the heel. Nice long line of energy. And then on an exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, extend to that flat body. Exhale. Inhale, extend. This time, exhale. Add that gentle back bend. Just lifting slightly with the fingertips and the toes. One more time, crunch. Slightly bigger back bend. And then maybe reaching behind, grabbing a hold of the foot, and putting just a tiny bit of pressure, foot into hand, to open up the heart, open up the shoulder. If you have really deep back bends, maybe opening up the front of the hip. One more breath. And release your hold on the foot, extend flat, and then keep the foot lifted, hand comes to the ground. On an exhale, sweep the foot to the side, bringing it as close as you can, parallel to the ground. It's probably very challenging. Not all of us have this range of motion in our hip. Last time, exhale, and then gently drop the foot towards the ground. Walk your hands back up to upright. If your block is not where it's reachable, go ahead and move it. Inhale. Exhale, gate pose. Dropping the bottom hand down the leg for support, making sure you're not putting any pressure on the knee, so on the thigh or on the calf. And then making sure you can look up and see past your shoulder. If you look and your shoulder is in the way, it means you're rounding, and we want to maybe come up a little bit more upright in order to stack the shoulder. One more breath. And then exhale, we're going to drop the floating hand to the ground or to a block, finding your modified side plank. Adding the challenge by floating the leg or extending the top arm. Same long line of energy from heel to fingertips, just like we did in balancing table, except now it's the same arm and leg that are lifted. Release the foot, come back up to upright, and again, however you need to get there, if you want to put your hands down and gently sit back, or if you have the core strength to sit back on your own, that's fine. Inhale. Exhale, gentle fold over the extended leg. I like to do my gentle folds with my palms up, just as a reminder to release and let go into the fold. When I have my palms down, I feel like I'm gripping the floor and trying to reach farther. So since this is our first fold, just relax, palms up. Let gravity and your breath do the work. Walk yourself back up to upright. Take that block again and bring the hand slightly behind your hip. And on an inhale, reach up and over, maybe a little bit of a rainbow motion with the arm, opening up the hip. Take another breath, and then when you're ready, rainbow the arm back down, coming into puppy pose. And notice if you feel a little bit more comfortable to walk the fingertips farther out, and maybe you rest the chin on the ground rather than the forehead, opening up the front of the throat. Last breath, and walk yourself back in, coming back to table, bringing your extended leg under, knee under hip, and then tuck your toes, and we'll push back into our first down dog. So keep the knees nice and bent for this first down dog, maybe extending one heel at a time towards the ground. Or you can play with stretching the toes, reaching up on the toes, and then sinking the heels back down. Whatever you're doing to warm up your feet and the backs of the legs, make sure that you're still really extending out through the tailbone so that we're not dumping our weight into our shoulders. As soon as you start to round, it tends to push your shoulders over your wrists, and then you'll have a lot more weight on your wrists. Take another breath here, and then on an exhale, gently step forward to the front of your mat. Go ahead and wrap the hands around the elbows for ragdoll, and relax here for a moment, maybe bending the knees if your hamstrings are not warm yet. Let the head hang heavy. Notice the weight of your head and how gravity will pull that weight and lengthen your neck. Release the hands to the ground, and on your next exhale, you're going to roll up one vertebrae perfect time, really squeezing the core to support your spine. And then once you're all the way upright, inhale, roll the shoulders. Inhale, hands rise all the way up. Exhale, fold, following the thumbs to the ground. Inhale, half lift, bringing the fingertips to your shins or even to your thighs, and then release. Inhale, reverse swan dive, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, gently step back, coming into plank. And let's take a few moments in plank. Maybe rock forward and back, stretching out your toes. Or maybe side to side, noticing how the weight feels in your wrists. And then come back to center. Drop the knees to the ground, knees, chest, chin, opening the throat. And then releasing the body to the ground and lifting the crown of the head for cobra. So just like our warm-up, we're not reaching with the chin. Instead, lift with the crown of the head so that you have lots of space in both parts of your neck, your front and your back neck. Release, and let's push back to child's pose. Taking just a single breath in child's pose, and then tucking your toes, hips lift up and back, down dog. We'll stay here for 3 breaths. On your next exhale, step forward, coming into forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands back to your heart center. Inhale. Exhale, fold. You can swan dive or keep the hands in prayer, doesn't matter. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And this time you're going to step back with the opposite foot. Let's find plank and hold plank for a moment. Reach through the crown of the head. Feel that same long line of energy through the body. Crown of the head through the heels. And then on your next exhale, soften the knees to the ground. Knees, chest, chin. Inhaling to cobra. Inhale and exhale. Go ahead and push back. We'll find child's pose first, just for a breath. Feel the air in the back body as you inhale in child's pose, and then exhale, tuck the toes and push back to down dog. 3 breaths here. On your next exhale, step forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to add on and incorporate a little bit of balance. So as you inhale, pick up one foot. Exhale, twist towards that knee. Inhale, back to center. And then as you exhale, you're going to step that floating foot slightly behind your standing foot and reach up and over. Breathe into that side body And then exhale, back to center, hands to your heart. Inhale, opposite foot lifts. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center, and kick that foot slightly behind you, reaching up and over. You can grab a hold of the thumbs, or you can grab a hold of opposite wrist, or you can interlace and reach your pointer finger. Whatever feels comfortable in your wrists and your hands. Come back to center and release your hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step back gently to plank. And we'll flow through our knees, chest, chin. If you want to take chaturanga and up dog, that's totally fine. But knees, chest, chin is a great option for opening your throat for today's class. Go ahead and release the head and push back to child's pose. Tuck the toes and push up to down dog. And this time we're going to pick up one foot. Inhale that heel towards the sky. Hips stay square to the ground. And then on an exhale, step the foot all the way through. You're probably going to need some extra cushion if you have sensitive knees, so go ahead and grab your extra cushion and drop the knee to the ground. And then you're going to come up so that you're in a slightly shorter stance so that you have a 90 degree with your knee, a 90 degree with your hips, and almost a 90 degree with the back leg. Inhale. Exhale, side bend. Inhale. Exhale, back to center. And then we're going to release and twist just like we did in our balancing posture. And then we're going to reach behind for a modified version of camel pose. Now this might be really challenging, so feel free to grab your block for a little extra height. Big inhale, exhale, opening up through the hip of the back leg, the shoulder of the floating arm, and then tilt your chin up just slightly, opening up the throat. One more breath. Exhale, we're going to come into a twist. You can bring your block with you just to drop it off at the front of the mat. And then feel free to stay here with the back knee on the ground or pick up the back knee. Making sure that if you have a shorter stance and your knee is starting to come over your toes, you just wiggle the back toes back just a little bit more. This will also help you keep your hips square to the ground. One more breath. And exhale, release the hands, step the foot back, inhaling plank. And then we'll make our way to the other side. So drop the knees, chest, chin. Inhaling cobra. And then exhale, push back, child's pose. On your next exhale, tuck the toes and hips lift towards the sky, down dog. Inhale, opposite foot comes up. Exhale, step that foot through. Again, maybe a slightly shorter stance. If your stance is too long, it's going to be really hard to get into that modified version of camel. Inhale, exhale, let's start with the extension. I honestly can't remember which side I did. Normally I go this way, but that feels wrong. We'll just do it again. Back to center, adding your twist, and then making sure you have a block handy as you tilt backwards and reach to catch that back heel or to rest gently on your block. 3 breaths here. Lifting the chin almost defiantly. You have something to say, and the thing that you have to say is of value. It deserves to be heard. On your next exhale, we're going to swing the hands forward, coming into that twisted version, keeping the block or not, and keeping the back knee on the ground or lifting it up. Release your floating hand, gently step back, and on an exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra, rolling the shoulders back. Release and push to child's pose. Take an inhale in child's pose. And then exhale, tuck the toes, shift the hips back, down dog. 3 breaths here. These breaths are the opportunity for you to physically catch your breath if you're feeling a little winded. If you're feeling a little winded, you can always find child's pose to relax and recover. But it's also a good opportunity to just recenter, reconnect. Make sure that you're focused on your movement, focused on your breath, not distracted. On your next exhale, gently step forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. And instead of bringing the hands to your heart, let's go ahead and add that balancing twist. Maybe look a little bit farther behind you, challenge your balance. Come back to center, hands rise up, floating foot steps behind, and then reach up and over. Back to center, let's go ahead and pick the knee up just to challenge your balance a little bit more, and then release hands to your heart, foot to the ground. Other side, inhale. Exhale, twist. Challenge your balance, look a little bit farther behind you. And then hands come to center, floating foot steps behind, and reach up and over. Inhale, exhale, back to center, balancing for one more moment, and then hands to your heart and foot to the ground. Inhale. Exhale, we're going to pick up a foot again, but this time we're going to kick it behind us and reach same foot to same hand, coming into dancer's pose. So you can stay right here, stay upright and just focus on pushing your hips forward, and that's dancer's pose. Or you can start to push the foot into the hand, create a little bit more space in the back body, and maybe tilt the chest forward slightly. Rise back up to upright, release foot and hand, and let's go ahead and try to extend the front leg, creating some strength in our quad and in our core. Inhale. Exhale, release. This time you're going to cross in front and fold forward. Inhale and come up onto your fingertips or maybe even to blocks and walk the hands towards the back foot. So if your back foot is on your right side of the mat, then your hands will be on the right side or vice versa. Basically, walking away from the front leg, if that is a little bit easier to understand. And notice a really good stretch through maybe your hip, your hamstring, maybe all the way up and down that back leg. Walk your hands back to center, gently unwrap. Inhale, flat. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step to plank. Knees, chest, chin on the exhale. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, release, and push back to child's pose. Inhaling in child's pose, feeling the expansion in the back ribs. And then exhale, tuck the toes, and come into down dog. Inhale, one foot comes up. Exhale, step that foot through. Back knee comes to the ground. This time you want a little bit more distance between the foot and the knee so that you can sink the hips down and forward, feeling a bit more of a stretch in this hip flexor. Inhale, and on your exhale, you're going to extend the front leg and come into half splits. Now here's where it can get fun. You can keep the fingertips on the ground, you can grab your blocks, or you can challenge your balance by bringing your hands behind. We're going to do that twice more. Inhale, hips shift forward, hands lift back. Exhale. Inhale forward. This time maybe connect the palms and tap the thumbs between your shoulder blades, really reaching through the front of the body. And release, coming into half splits. And then shift yourself forward, tuck the back toes if they aren't already, and rise up to high lunge. Tilting your arms, your upper body upright to crescent pose. Inhale. Exhale, hands come to your heart, and we're going to hook opposite elbow to the front knee. If you feel really unsteady here, you can always drop that back knee to the ground. And once you have the elbow hooked, start to roll the upper body open. Maybe notice a slight pressure in your palms to help energize and move that top shoulder up and back. One more breath. And release, coming back to crescent pose. And then releasing your hands to the ground. Instead of stepping back, we're going to step forward into forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. And then we're going to do that on the other side. So inhale, hands up, opposite knee lifts. And then squeeze the ankle towards the glute. Kick the knee back and reach hand for foot. Maybe staying here, keeping the knees aligned so that knee doesn't splay out to the side. Or maybe challenging yourself by pushing your foot into your hand and starting to tilt forward slightly. The more you push your foot into the hand, the more steady you'll be actually. If you're just trying to lean forward without that counter pressure or counterweight, it's much more challenging to keep your balance. Come back up to upright. Release the foot, hand comes up, engage the quad, extend for 3, 2, 1. Cross that foot in front of the standing leg and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flattening your back, giving yourself a little bit more space to walk the hands to the opposite side. Again, you can use your blocks here. We want just a tiny bit of like an arch or a twist so that you're really focusing the extension in this back leg. One more breath, and walk your hands back to center, uncross. the feet. Inhale, flat back, hands to shins or thighs. Exhale, fold. And then step back, finding plank. Inhale, exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, pushing back, child's pose. Finding an inhale in child's pose. And then exhale, shining the tailbone back to the back corner behind you. Inhale, opposite foot comes up. Exhale, gently step that foot through. Again, a little bit more length this time. And rise up, low lunge. Add the side body stretch. And then back to center. On your exhale, extending the front leg, coming into half splits, supporting yourself, or maybe trying the unsupported version with the hands behind you, really engaging the core for support. Inhale, sink the hips forward. Exhale, down and back, making sure that you're not hyperextending. So if you have a tendency to hyperextend, please support yourself. One more time forward, maybe joining the palms, tapping the thumbs. And then one more time back. Low lunge, take an inhale, and then hands come to the ground, pop the back knee up off the ground, and rise up, crescent pose. Take an inhale, and exhale, hands come to your heart, create space for that twist before you hook the knee or hook the elbow on the knee, and then start to roll the top shoulder up and back, squeezing the inner thighs together to stabilize. Maybe starting to look upright to challenge your balance. Gently release, hands up, one breath in crescent pose, and then hands come to the ground and gently step forward, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, fold. And this time you're going to rock your weight forward and back as you toe heel the feet to the outside edges of your mat. Once you're there, gently drop the hips, coming into Malasana. Maybe bringing the palms to your heart if you feel steady. Staying in Malasana, extend one leg or one arm, out and open up the other arm. When you're ready, switch sides, opposite arm extends underneath that knee or shin, and then open up the other direction. Release, come back to center, and then hands come to the ground, extend the legs back up to the sky, and then same thing, heel, toe, the feet back together. And then we're going to come into a toe stand. So if you need to, stretch your toes out and grab your cushion. Because we're going to go from our toe stand into camel. So feel free to stay right here with the fingertips on the ground. Maybe bring the hands to your heart, squeezing the inner thighs and the ankles together for support. Or maybe try extending the hands up and over, really challenging your balance. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Release the hands to the ground, and then we're going to come into camp. If you need a little bit more space, just walk back further in your mat. Spread your toes. I have itty bitty little short toes, so I have to spread my toes a lot. And then bring your knees to the ground. You also can do this without your toes tucked. I just really like to stretch out my itty bitty little toes, so that's my choice. Bring the hips so that they're lifted on top of the knees. And we're going to start by bringing your hands into your back pockets. Squeeze the elbows towards each other and just start to look up, opening up the throat. Think about shining through your Adam's apple if you had one. Come back to center, come back to neutral, take a breath. And then we're gonna do it again. You can stay here, or you can grab a hold of the backs of the thighs and maybe open up a little bit deeper. Make sure that you're keeping a little bit of length in the back of the neck, so you're not just letting the weight hang heavy. Reach through the crown of the head to open the throat rather than letting the weight of the head do the work. Go ahead and come back to center. Take a breath. And if you need to, grab your blocks, or if you have your heels popped up like mine with your toes tucked under, it might be enough to reach for the heels, but we want to keep the hips right on top of the knees. So we'll go a little bit deeper. You can pick one of the first two options if that's better for you. If you'd like to go deeper, go ahead and reach for your blocks or your heels. Push the hips forward. Reach through the crown of the head. So you have that nice long line of energy. No 90-degree angles in the body to shut off the energy. Just a nice curve from your kneecaps out through the crown of your head. One more breath. And then gently come back to neutral wherever you're at. Untuck your toes, sit back, and take a breath. Back bends can be very energizing, which means they also might make you feel a little bit lightheaded when you come out of them. So take a few breaths to recenter, neutralize, and just feel comfortable before you move on. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and either swing our feet out to the side or cross our ankles behind us to gently roll back. We're gonna do some quick core and then a little bit more for the throat chakra, and then we'll be done. So, in boat pose, engage the core, roll the shoulders back, squeeze the belly button towards the spine as though you're gonna scoop it underneath the rib cage, and then lean back slightly. If this feels good, pick up one foot, switch, 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 both feet. You can stay here, or you can drop the toes back to the ground, or you can extend, switch, 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 extend both. And we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're not done yet. We're gonna roll down nice and slow for 5. Tuck your tailbone. Waistband of the pants is connecting. Lower back, right underneath the shoulder blades. And then release, bring your knees to your chest. Give yourself a rock, side to side. Come back to center, open up your knees, and go ahead and pick up the soles of the feet so that they're parallel with the sky for happy baby. Maybe play with extending one leg. Switch. 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 Extend both legs. And then bring the feet together. Hands come to your hips. You can stay right here in legs up the wall pose or waterfall. Or you can come into a more challenging inversion, which is also great for your throat chakra, or come into a shoulder stand. So in order to come into a shoulder stand, engage the abs to pick the hips up. Maybe bring the hands again into those back pockets, and then feet towards the sky. If you feel really comfortable in shoulder stand and you would like a little bit more of a challenge, you can interlock the hands and take that support away from the back pockets. But make sure that you feel really confident and comfortable, because this takes a lot more control. It's also going to put a little bit more pressure on your head and neck. So if you have any neck issues, this is probably not a good option for you. If you have any neck issues at all, you might just want to stay with your hips on the ground with legs up the wall. We're going to stay here for about another minute. If you want, you can play with your toes and your feet, maybe flexing, stretching out the toes, and then pointing, maybe some ankle circles. Or you can just stay nice and still. Three more breaths. Now, wherever you're at, come down nice and slow using that same core strength to roll down one vertebrae at a time. And then from here, we're going to come into fish pose. So gently lower the feet all the way to the ground. Hands stay right next to your hips, maybe even grabbing onto the side of your hips. Push into the elbows and tilt the head back so that the crown of the head is just barely tapping on the ground. Now, if this is not comfortable for you, or you don't have the strength or the flexibility, bring your blocks. One block underneath your shoulder blades, and the other block underneath your head, or maybe no block under the head. It's really up to you and what is comfortable for you. We will all stay here for 3 more breaths. Really notice the openness in the throat, especially after you just had that constriction in the throat in shoulder stand. Notice how the breath feels as you breathe and the air flows over your throat. Good, gently release the head. Everyone will roll back down onto the ground, and then let's finish with a few twists. Bring the knees back in. Maybe give yourself a hug first, and then release the hands to a T and gently drop your knees to one side. If you can, gaze the opposite direction so you're getting that twist. all the way from tailbone through the crown of the head. Feel free to play with your twist here. You can keep the knees bent. You can extend the legs and grab a hold of the big toes. Or maybe you would prefer something like eagle legs for your twist. Whatever feels good to you. One more breath. And on an exhale, squeeze with the core to come back to center. And then gently drop the knees to the other side. Look towards the other arm. And choose whichever variation of a twist works for you. Again, you can stay with the knees bent. Extend, hook an ankle over the knee. The more you play with the twist, the more you'll find what feels really good in your body. On your next exhale, come back to center. Take any final poses that feel good in your body. Maybe another hug, maybe another happy baby. Maybe you drop the soles of the feet towards the ground and let the knees drop open. Just take a breath or two here. And then when you're ready, extend the feet coming into Shavasana. Relax, adjust so that you can feel comfortable in this final resting pose so that you can enjoy all the benefits of recovery after your practice. You are more than welcome to stay here in Shavasana for another 5-10 minutes. But if you do need to close out your practice, you can do so with me. Start by reawakening the extremities, wiggling the fingers, the toes. Give yourself some ankle circles and wrist circles, maybe expanding fingers and toes, and then creating a fist. Expand and release. Walk your feet in and pick your hands up so they're both pointed towards the sky, and then rock your knees in one direction, wrists in the other direction. Just windshield wipering side to side, and then come back to center. roll yourself over onto your shoulder, or maybe using a towel for a pillow. And when you're ready, coming up into a comfortable seated position. I want to thank you for sharing your practice with me today. I hope that this gives you some confidence to speak your voice. Your voice is important and it does need to be heard, so I hope that you use it. Again, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.